And we wanted to spend one of our Sundays together really delving into what's on voters' minds. And with the help of Luke's research group, we invited nearly 50 voters from seats that went from red to blue at the last general election to give us their verdicts. It's not scientific, but the groups were carefully selected to represent the full gamut of views. Loyal Tories, faithful Labour voters, Conservatives who plan to switch to Labour, those interested in the smaller parties, whether the Lib Dems, Greens or Reform UK, and those all-important undecided voters whose ballots are still up for grabs. So watch and listen. Kemi Badenoch, our Cabinet Minister this morning, is watching too. Here for you is a taste of Britain in a room.
How would you sum up Britain in 2024?
Depressing.
Terrible state we're in.
Dishonest and messed up.
Falling apart.
I think we're a country in crisis.
I think it's the worst it's ever been.
Remember, everyone coming here today are in seats that were Labour until Boris Johnson turned them blue in 2019. We've gathered together voters from all sorts of different backgrounds, young, old, Tory, Labour, and those who yet haven't a clue who they'll choose.
Funnily enough, me and Stephen dated 25 years ago. Oh, we just met again.
Here we go.
What comes to mind when you see this person?
We're not allowed to swear, are we?
No swearing. You can be rude, of course.
He was beaten by Liz Truss, who was also useless. So the fact that he was second place to her is baffling.
Yeah.
Incompetent cretin.
Lack of gravitas.
Nice guy, but weak.
There's nothing like hearing it direct from the voter's mouth.
It's not strong enough.
No personality. You need a personality to rule.
It's like he's reading from a script when he talks.
Yeah, it does have charisma.
Yeah.
I think he's very arrogant. Because he's like got more money than he knows what to do with.
I would say out of touch, because I don't think he understands what the ordinary people go through.
Yeah, I see privilege, and I think that means that he's kind of out of touch with a lot of the common man that he's supposed to be representing as well.
I think he thinks he's doing a good job, but he's not connected with us.
No, and not at all connected to real people. He just doesn't understand. He's wealthy.
He's like
got
a
no
robot.
idea what it's like.
For me, I feel like there's a real disconnect with, like, especially for working class and people that are really struggling.
I don't think that being wealthy means you're disconnected. He's good or he's bad.
People in this country don't like successful people. They're very bitter that they're not like them, and that's why I think everybody resents him.
I don't think he's out of touch. I just think the problems he has are so vast.
I thought he did a marvellous job as a Chancellor. Give him a chance.
Boris Johnson, for me, was more relatable. I think in Rishi Sunak's role as Chancellor, he supported me in my role at that time and helped me out a lot. I just think they were a strong pair together when Boris was Prime Minister.
Even among this group of Tory voters who say they want to stick with the party, the view of the country is so bleak, and they've clearly had enough of the Conservatives fighting amongst themselves.
No wonder he can't get anything done, because there's fighting and bickering. We all want to be Prime Minister.
You said Rishi Sunak lacks gravitas.
Unfortunately, I don't think he has that presence, and I think having a presence within an organisation means a lot, certainly in the environments that I've always worked in.
The polls suggest the government's been unpopular for a long time, but that's not necessarily the same thing as feeling excited about Keir Starmer.
What's the first thing that comes to mind when you see this person?
Dull.
A bit boring, to be honest with you, and I don't think he's the strongest of leaders.
I don't look at him and think he's the one that's going to come and save us.
He's very big on saying what he's going to do, but not on how.
I don't think we know enough about him.
He's basically just come onto the scene.
Yeah. I mean, he's come onto the scene saying, oh, we'll do this, this and this, but where's the money coming from to do this, this and this?
I don't know what he actually believes. I think everything he says is to try and win the majority over. And then when he gets it wrong, he'll quickly realise and correct himself and then just looks stupid. Whereas I think Jeremy Corbyn was more, more grounded with his beliefs.
I'd rather somebody that was either here or there, not somewhere in between.
I don't think he's a working class leader, and I associate the Labour Party with working class people.
I'm surprised that he accepted the knighthood because it seems strange to have a Labour leader who's knighted.
Who would be in his cabinet? That's my fear.
I don't think it'll be too long before they oust him and we'll go back to the Corbynite era.
God forbid.
God forbid.
I think his kind of popularity has been helped kind of by default because of kind of the backlash to the Conservatives. I think you can only really judge him kind of when he's in power.
I do actually think he's got integrity. I do think he will try, but I do think he's got a big task ahead.
This group all say they're going to vote Labour. They voted Labour last time, but it was really striking. There's no sense of passion for Keir Starmer. Still some question marks of what he's really about. Everyone in that room says they're going to vote Labour, but nobody in that room felt like they were excited about Keir Starmer.
No, because you don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about him. To me, it's just like just popped up out of nowhere.
There's a lot of weight on his shoulders, a lot of expectation about him coming in and being more moderate and maybe running away with this thing. And it's not a given. A lot can happen between now and the election.
I do like him, but I just don't know if he'd be strong enough with what's happening.
Oh, no. I'm getting mixed up with him and Nigel Farage.
He looks nothing like Nigel.
All right.
It's not Nigel Farage, it's Keir Starmer.
Again and again, our voters have shared stories of how the health service just isn't up to scratch. It's obviously at the top of many people's lists.
Waiting times for hospitals, and it's virtually impossible to get an appointment.
You're waiting just to see the doctor over a week, and by that time you're better. You don't want to go back to the doctors or see the doctor.
I mean, I have a heart condition, and obviously I had to contact the hospital because I waited 26 weeks up to now, and I've still not had an appointment. And then they told me I had to wait, the waiting list is up to 70 weeks.
Obviously, with me being a senior carer, there's times that I have to ring 111, and the wait times for the ambulances are ridiculous.
You know, your family doctor, you knew your family doctor, you went to a surgery and you saw the same doctor. Now it's multiple health centres.
There must be a different way, because how long can you throw money all the time without looking and saying, we're really not sorting the problem?
People tend to work in the NHS for 20, 30, 40 years, and they don't seem to have fresh blood coming in with new ideas. So people do what they do because they do what they do. And so it never develops, and they don't necessarily look from the bottom upwards how they can improve things. It's always from the top downwards.
I graduated as a nurse, so I've done 3 years of placement in hospitals, and I've seen firsthand how the nurses work, how the doctors are, and it's not valued enough. And I really don't know if I want to work as a nurse in this country right now.
Why do you want to leave the UK?
I don't want to be like living paycheck to paycheck, and I don't want to be worrying about doing these long hours, and is my son all right at home, if I can have flexible working, and if I can have let's say do agency working and receive like triple the amount of money,
Anything else?
The cost of living crisis is having a big impact on us.
Being able to go out and socialise is just so much more expensive. Going to the supermarket, your bills are so much more expensive.
Every time you go into the shop, the prices have gone up.
I'm a student and I can barely afford to eat some weeks.
I've got two older boys, and it's just worrying to how they're going to get on the housing market.
High inflation is something that worries me. I know it's come down a lot, but it's still quite high, and because of that, it's keeping all the other prices up.
When you're retired, your income's not keeping up with inflation.
So along with the cost of living is our childcare costs, which are astronomical.
This is a first world country. However, there is so much of a difference between the highest paid, the wealthy, and the ordinary people.
The other thing I was going to say is about the environment. The delaying plans in certain policies. I think they were going to do it by like 2035, and then now they're extending that to like 2050, like the net zero policy. Yeah, it's just a bit of a concern for like our kids, our grandkids.
This group all plumped for the Conservatives in 2019, but they've changed their vote to Labour. So why?
The Boris moment and all that came out about what he was doing, in the lockdown and everything.
There's people like me, where my father actually died in COVID, so that was a very sad time.
I'm so sorry to hear that you lost your dad during the pandemic. When you found out, some of the things that had been happening in government. How did that make you feel?
Really sad, but like frustrated as well, you know, like so many lives had been lost, you know, and then, you know, Conservatives, you know, they're all having like these parties, you know, they're not social distancing.
There's a couple of reasons that keep being mentioned that cover the switch from Tory to Labour. Partygate, the long memories of COVID, and what Liz Truss got up to.
I think it's frightening how two people managed to destroy 10 million people's mortgages in the space of 3 days.
And is that what shifted your vote?
Yes, basically.
And do you see a day when the Tories will get your vote back?
They have to work hard at it.
The actual tipping point for me was when Rishi Sunak, when the HS2 was cancelled for the North, and then he actually said, oh, it's OK, we're going to give Manchester, we're going to give them the tram link to the airport. And then he actually he named an area. It was like not even in the North.
The only thing that they've promised us for years, and they scrapped it.
He's not interested at all in any regeneration of the North or anything like that. I do think this divide's getting bigger, and that was when I decided that I need to change who gets my vote.
I think we've all been conditioned to not really expect too much, and this is just the norm when it really shouldn't be as the public servants.
We used to be a major power, and now we're floating like a little island of non-existence.
If you could pick anybody, politician or not, to run the country, who'd do the best job at running the country, who would that be?
Carol Vorderman would be an absolutely brilliant Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson.
Alex Ferguson, OK.
Alan Sugar, because he wouldn't take any nonsense from the boardroom.
I would say Martin Lewis.
Martin Lewis.
Oh, yeah. Martin Lewis.
Martin.
Oh, yeah.
I would like Martin Lewis.
Yeah, I like Martin Lewis.
Martin Lewis.
Martin Lewis, absolutely, yeah. He's got a grip of everything going on.
He's very good, isn't he? He'd make a good Prime Minister.
We've heard from nearly 50 voters here today from all sorts of different backgrounds. It's given us a snapshot of Britain in a room. But it's hard not to conclude from their conversations that our politics is in a lot of trouble. There's a deep well of worry about the state of the country and a sense a change of government's probably on the way. But you don't really detect much faith that a new operation in Number 10 would transform lives. There is, though, remember, probably about 10 months to go.